Candace. I'm sorry. I can't stop. Sorry. I don't know what's so funny. I just don't.
Squidward's Tiki Land. Tiki. Welcome to Squidward's Tiki Land.
I wasn't really sure what to do today, so I think I'm just gonna do like a story time thing. It'll basically be my own stories until people want to like send me stories on my Instagram. I'll put it or my on my Insta and somewhere around here, and you guys can send me stories if you want me to talk about them. And don't mind me, this is just a fidget. I don't have many of them. They're just like for stress relief, and I'm just gonna be telling stories. I don't know. Tell me what you guys think about the setup today. I wasn't quite sure, and don't mind this mess. I was tired this morning after pulling it all night around New Year's. Actually, I'll go ahead and upload that video after this of how New Year's went. And yeah, and it was greasy and I was too tired to watch it this morning, so here we are. And yeah, basically, I'll just be doing story times, so I'll get my first one prepared. So the first story time is from when I was in kindergarten. It was I'm not really professional at this stuff. I just start telling stories. It'll get more professional as I go. It was from when I was in kindergarten. I am in 7th grade now. I was 5 at the time. I hadn't quite turned 6. It was because my birthday's on April 21st, so I hadn't turned 6 yet because I'm a late birthday. I'm the younger one in the grade. So I was in kindergarten, and I have, like I explained in the introduction video, I have a stomach disorder, so I have a 504 in school and an IEP. So part of it was I need to be able to go to the bathroom anytime, and even if because I have a weak immune system, I have immunocompromisation too, which came with the stomach disorder. So if my temperature is above 99, I have to be sent home. And oh boy, a lot happened that day. So I was at lunch with my bestie, and she had a habit of doing things she wasn't supposed to in kindergarten. And she would always, because most of the lunch ladies, when you ask to go to the bathroom, their response is just, you should have gone in class, or you can wait until later. And then all the teachers' responses are, you should have gone at lunch. So lunch ladies mostly say no. So this girl, my friend, she's still my friend now. Me and her have been besties for 7 years. So yeah, she's still my friend to this day. But at the time, she had a habit of like sneaking out of the cafeteria as a kindergartner. She already turned 6 because it was her birthday was in December, so she'd already turned 6. This was like February, and yeah, she would always sneak to the bathroom. And one time I raised my hand to go to the bathroom, and they said no, and I tried, and at the time, I didn't know what an IEP or a 504 was. I didn't know I had that. So I thought I was just a normal student, and I couldn't go to the bathroom, and I really had to go. And like with my stomach disorder, I can't hold much. So I decided to sneak, and the one time I snuck, this is the first time I broke a rule, and I was bad at it. So yeah, basically after they started walking away, my friend was already in the bathroom, and I really wanted to go to the bathroom, so I just stepped out of the cafeteria, and I was like, sorry, I'm not very good at telling stories. It was there were literally 2 lunch ladies watching our table and staring at me as I walked out. I wasn't even trying to be discreet, I just left. And I was walking to the bathroom, and the door was stuck. And then a lady and 2 lunch ladies followed me out, and I was like freaking out and trying to get the door open to hide in the bathroom. That didn't work, and they pulled me back into the cafeteria. They called my teacher. Teacher blew up at them for not respecting my 504 or my IEP, and they got in big trouble with the principal. But I was still in trouble for sneaking to the bathroom, and I had lunch detention the next day. I didn't want to do that. So I deciding to be dumb, knowing that if my temperature was above 99 degrees, because with most kids, it has to be 100.3 degrees at least for them to get checked out. But with me, it's 99 degrees at least, and I get checked out if my temperature is 99 degrees because I typically run low too. And they can't take any risks with my anemia, my stomach disorder, and my immunocompromisation. So I did not want to do lunch detention. I said I was feeling sick. They let me go to the nurse, and the past few days, I wasn't sick or anything, but whenever I get stressed, my temperature goes up for some reason. It's really weird, so I run higher, so my temperature is 98, 99. And I knew that I could get checked out for temperature, but I didn't know much about anything else at the time since I was in kindergarten. Like I explained, this is the day after the last story. And I went to the nurse, and my friend also went to the nurse because she was feeling sick. But her temperature, both me and her temperature were 99. The nurse told her to go back to class, and she had me lay down on the bed while she called my grandma to take me home and told me to call the doctor and everything. And my friend had the same temperature as me, and she just sent her back to class because she was a normal person. Hey, perks of being the same. Okay. Yeah, basically that's how the story went. I'm really bad at telling stories. I'm very sorry. This wasn't really what I was planning to do on this account, but I don't really have the equipment to do anything else, and I'm not sure what to do yet, and I just wanted to upload. So we're doing this today. This is probably not going to be something I do very often because we can see how it's going right now. It's not going 100%. But yeah, this is how it's going today. I gotta stop talking. I'm getting sidetracked. All right, next story. So this next story has a lot to do with COVID and other diseases. It was, you know how towards the beginning of 2020, lockdowns started happening for COVID all over America. Yeah, it was towards the end of 2019 and into the beginning of 2020 when all the lockdowns started, or at least that in Florida. And because of my immunocompromisation, we got out of school early and we did online school. And when 5th grade was starting, most of the lockdown was over and kids were starting to go back to school. And because of my immunocompromisation, I couldn't leave my room without a mask. Anything we brought into the house, we had to bleach before I could touch it. And I could not hug my mother or anybody, no social touch, contact, anything. And I didn't have a phone yet at the time. So that was rough, very rough. So when 5th grade started, I still had to stay out for the first semester, and I was just at home being homeschooled. Hospital homebound teacher came to my house for the first half of the year, and then the second half of the year, it was less bad, so my grandparents were going to let me go to school for the second semester. I live with my grandparents, by the way, and so I got to school, and let me mention, it was towards the beginning of November when the second semester... Sorry, I messed up. I wasn't able to go to school for the first quarter, not the first semester. So the second quarter was starting, and let me remind you, this was the second quarter started in early November. I went back to school on November 1st. And earlier that year in October, I had gone up to Indiana, where there are some things wrong with the soil up there, and I was playing in the leaves with my cousins and all. You'll see why this information is important in a little bit. So I went back to school on November 1st, and I was feeling great. It was so much fun. It was 5th grade. I was happy. I was excited to be back at school and socialize with my friends. I was 10 years old at the time. It was my first day back at school, and I was actually happy. Usually I hate school, but I had 0 social interactions for the past 4 months. So yeah, I kind of needed a little bit. And the second day I went to school, my head was just hurting and everything hurt, and I didn't tell anybody because I didn't want to get out of school again, because at this time, if you had a fever, you weren't allowed to go to school for 2 weeks again because of the COVID risk, because COVID was still really dangerous at the time. So this was still the first year of it happening, and when I was in 5th grade, and The second day, eventually the pain became unbearable, and I went to the nurse. And I run low, mind you. Usually I run around 97, high 96, low 97. That's really low. Yeah, I run low. My temperature was 103. So that is about 6 or 7 degrees above my average. They checked me out. That's nice. I was sobbing because I didn't want to miss school for another 2 weeks. And they took me to the doctor, my pediatrician and my primary care doctor, multiple times. If you're wondering why I said specifically primary care doctors, because I have a lot of doctors for many different things. So yeah, they took me to my primary care doctor and even the hospital. In that 2 weeks, I got 7 COVID tests, 9 flu tests, and 12 strep tests, and all of them came back negative. No pneumonia, nothing like that either. So eventually, they had my blood works done, and there was something off with the blood works. And yeah, they had me do another blood works, and the second time they took the blood works, it was really wrong, and they had me because I was having really congested at the time, and they couldn't, and I didn't have flu, strep, COVID, cold, any of it, so they went to get me a chest x-ray. They noticed something real wrong. As we were driving back home from the hospital after the chest x-ray, about 10 minutes into our drive home, they called us and said, pack your stuff, turn around, and come back. I was freaking out. They didn't know what I had yet, but there was like my lungs were dying. And they didn't know what was happening. So when I got to the hospital, the first week there was awful. This is the longest story we'll have today, but it's basically just explaining my crazy 5th grade time. So yeah, when we went to the hospital, the first week was awful. They were trying to figure out what I had because they couldn't figure out what I had yet, and they kept doing x-rays, and not only were my lungs dying now and organs in my chest, it was spreading to my brain and my spine, which would possibly kill me or make me brain dead. I'm obviously not, as you can see, right? I think I'm good. And so they were freaking out. They kept doing like all these procedures, lumbar punctures, lavages. If you don't know what a lavage is, most of you don't, probably, because most people are normal, healthy people. It's like where they stick a tube into your nose and it goes all the way down to your stomach. It's the most painful thing ever. More painful than like any IV, any knife wound, anything I've ever felt. And I felt a lot of medical pain. And they did all that, and they did another lumbar puncture. They found something. Because the first week, whenever someone went into my room, they were required to wear a hazmat suit. It was terrifying, because they thought I had tuberculosis, which is deadly and contagious. I didn't have tuberculosis. I had something very similar to tuberculosis. It was called histoplasmosis. We just call it histo for short. It's like a version of tuberculosis, but it's not contagious. Just as deadly, though, if not more deadly. So I had histoplasmosis, but it wasn't contagious, so nobody had to worry about being close or in contact with me. And they gave me this. I got the histoplasmosis. You know when I mentioned I was in Indiana and playing in the dirt and the leaves earlier? It's a rare fungal infection from the north that I can pick up from the dirt. Most people that get it, it doesn't affect them. They just pass it off as a common cold and it goes away. But with me, I was already sick at the time when I got it, and I had such a weak immune system that somehow it got into my lungs, brain, and spine. So that was fun. They said if I had gotten there a few days later, I would have been dead by now. That's nice. That was very reassuring of them as a 10-year-old. And so they gave me this thing to give me medicine through. So you know how they like pump medicines into IVs for my stomach? So they put an IV, well, not an IV, it was like an IV, but instead of a needle, it was this super long tube that was inside me. And let me see if I can find the scar. Right here is the scar. They put a tube into my chest right here to put the medicine directly into my heart and all over. I took amphotericin. It's a type of medicine to treat histoplasmosis, and I was in the hospital for a month and a half. Cancer patients don't stay that long. Mind you, that was 45 days straight, and this was from, I got admitted into the hospital on November 11th, no, November 10th. And I was, and I checked out of the hospital on December 25th, Christmas. So I spent Thanksgiving and Christmas in there. That was fun. Honestly, I didn't mind because I was spoiled rotten. Every day was my birthday or Christmas, basically. I was kind of sad to leave, but because after an entire almost 2 months sitting in a hospital bed, I had basically moved everything in. But yeah, almost 2 months in a hospital, not leaving the hospital grounds once. Like, we didn't leave the hospital property. I didn't step foot off the hospital property. I got a lot of physical therapy, too. Yeah. And I got a lot of surgeries, including the surgery to get the, it's called, like, a PICC line or a port, which is the tube in my chest that gave me medicine. Actually, I still have it, but I'm not going to show you guys this because YouTube will demonetize it. I kept it as a trophy. It's really weird. Listen, it was a rough time. I kept the thing that they shoved inside my body as a trophy for surviving. I'm here. I'm alive. That's a trophy for it. And, so after they, kicked me out of the hospital, they kicked me out, I was crying and I wanted to go back, and I struggled with mental issues because I had, it's kind of weird to explain because most people get, like, they don't get it from this situation. Stockholm Syndrome is like when someone's, like, another term is, like, kidnapped and they fall in love with their kidnapper or something like that and they don't want to leave. But for me, the Stockholm Syndrome was I was in the hospital so long that I developed mental health issues from not being there. I developed depression from not being in the hospital, anxiety. I already had mild anxiety, but since that time, I've had severe anxiety to the point where I have to take high dosage of medication. So yeah, that was fun. That was the most ultimate story, good God. And then I had to take medicine supplements for like a year after that because the histoplasmosis wasn't completely gone. They had to continue treating it through pills. That was nice. And then after that, because the medicine I took for my stomach, which was Remicade, messed with the new medicine I was taking for the disease, itraconazole. Remicade killed itraconazole, which is the medicine I needed for my histoplasmosis. You're probably thinking this is all gibberish right now. I talk hospital because I live in the hospital sometimes. So they had to take me off of my stomach medicine because it was affecting my disease medicine, itraconazole, for histoplasmosis. And they had to take me off Remicade for ulcerative, They had to take me off my stomach medication because the medication for the disease was killed by my stomach medicine, and my stomach disorder wasn't fatal like this disease is. I still have my stomach disorder, but I thank God after about a year got rid of that disease. It wasn't contagious, by the way, and yeah, that's the ultimate story of today. Wild. Yeah. I'm gonna have my candy cane. Okay. Have you ever made it like a sharp object out of a candy cane? Like where it melts into your mouth to like where the part that's been in your mouth becomes like a sharp point? Because I've done that before. Let me see if I can find it. Where is it? Where is it? I couldn't remember where it is. It happened a while ago. Somewhere around here. Aha! You might not be able to see it in camera. That's a mole. Don't worry about that. But there's like a mark around here that I got because the candy cane was so sharp it stabbed me. I'm getting sidetracked. This was supposed to be the outro. And as always, frick noodle soup. I have nothing against noodle soup, by the way. I don't dislike noodle soup. It just became a substitute for the F word. Whenever I got mad, I would say, if F word was rolling off my tongue, I'd say frick noodle soup. It used to be frick chicken nuggets, but I couldn't stand saying that. Noodle soup is not as good as chicken nuggets, so I could stand saying that. So, and as always, frick noodle soup and adieu. Also, if you're wondering about my voice today, I have a cold. Yeah, that's fun. And the next story took place in 2nd grade. I mean, 4th grade. Sorry, my 2nd grade teacher and my 4th grade teacher were very similar. So it was in 4th grade, and I have mental problems. So I had a CDAC counselor at the school, a counselor outside of school, and a psychiatrist. And I was seeing the CDAC counselor weekly, and I got an extra appointment that week because there were flu shots. And even though I get IVs a lot because I get my medicine for my stomach disorder through IVs. So I used to get those every month until I started taking pills. But yeah, I was used to getting needles in my arm. But they always had numbing cream at the hospital, which worked like magic. I called it magic cream when I was little because I did not feel a thing. They don't have that for flu shots, and also it didn't work on a muscle. So I was terrified. The flu shots hurt way more than the IVs. And I went down to my CDAC counselor, and it's not just, even though she's CDAC counselor, she doesn't just specialize in that. She's like all counseling. She gave me a stress ball because that really calms me down. Like, and she gave me a stress ball, and I brought it back to class because it was almost our class's turn for the flu shot. And my teacher saw it, and she asked where I got that. I was like, well, my counselor gave it to me. She took it away and threw it in the trash, I think. I don't know. She took it with her, and I didn't see it again. So maybe she took it, threw it in the trash. I don't know. And she said it wasn't fair because... And she straight out said in front of the whole class, and mind you, she's not allowed to share my personal information without my consent, but I don't think she cared. And she knew that I didn't understand that was illegal at the time. So she yelled in front of the whole class, "You of all people don't need a stress reliever. You get shots all the time for your stupid stomach disorder." And that was fun. I wouldn't really care much about that now because I'm not secretive about my stomach disorder anymore, but I was at the time. I don't know why I got so embarrassed from just having a disability. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I didn't choose that. But she did not understand that I had anxiety. She was a boomer, and she wasn't a nice boomer. She didn't understand the mental health thing, and she said it was unfair because none of the other kids got one, and I was like, the flu shot went well, and I was freaking out. And I was crying. Mind you, this is in 4th grade. Right a little before I turned 10. A lot before I turned 10 because I don't turn 10 till April, and the flu shot was like in October. And I was 9, and I was crying, and that was fun. And the next week, my CDAC counselor resigned. Yeah. So, next story. If you're wondering why I say adieu, it's because I'm learning French, by the way. I should have started talking French at the beginning of the video. I should have said bonjour, comment allez-vous? Or bonjour, bon ami, comment allez-vous? Anyway, I probably shouldn't say adieu. I should, because that's like goodbye forever. I should say au revoir, but adieu is better. So, have I looked at the camera this entire video? Like, I'm looking at it now, but the most of the time I've been looking here at myself in the screen. I record on my phone, by the way, because I don't have a camera. I'm getting one soon, so, yeah. And as... Sorry. And... Sorry, there's someone outside my window, which is behind the phone. They're doing weird crap. Okay. I'm closing the window. And this. I'm sorry. I can't stop. Sorry. I don't know what's so funny. I just don't. Oh, that's my turtle. Don't mind that. My turtles. Sorry, plural. They get offended. I should show my dog some. Okay, we're done. And as always, frick noodle soup. And my chair just almost fell from under. Okay, this outro is going too long. And as always, frick noodle soup and a do.